Have you ever felt like you're living life through a pane of glass? You see the colors, you understand the shapes, you can even predict the movements, but you're not quite there. You're on the inside looking out. Your mind is a room where the lights are never turned off. It's a constant hum of analysis, a relentless churn of questions and connections that others seem to miss. People might call you quiet, but inside it's anything but. It's a library filled with books no one else has read, a complex machine always calculating probabilities. Or maybe it's because their text message didn't have an emoji. You've been told you're too sensitive, too serious, or that you think too much. And every time you hear it, a small part of you wonders if they're right. Is there something wrong with you? Why do you feel everything so intensely? Notice every subtle shift in a room's energy and carry the weight of conversations long after they're over. What if I told you that your overthinking isn't a glitch? It's not a flaw to be fixed. It's the echo of a mind that learned to solve for survival. It's a feature, not a bug, that simply came without a user manual. And if you felt lost trying to navigate it, you've finally come to the right place. That feeling of being an observer in your only life leads to a profound and often painful sense of loneliness. You crave deep, meaningful connection, but your own mind can feel like a barrier, a fortress of analysis that keeps others out. You see the world in high definition, while it feels like everyone else is content with standard depth. For a long time, you may have believed that this trait, this depth, is a burden you must carry alone. But the truth is, your deep thinking is a powerful tool. It is a strength that simply needs to be understood and guided, not silenced or shamed. That's the entire purpose of this video. We're not just going to validate your experience, though you will feel seen. We're going to give you a framework, a map to navigate your own inner world. We'll explore the psychological origins of your analytical mind, uncovering why it developed this way in the first place. We'll examine the paradox of how your greatest gift can also feel like your heaviest cage. And most importantly, I'm going to give you a clear, simple way to answer a question that has likely haunted you. How can you tell the difference between insightful, deep thinking and a spiral into destructive anxiety? And even more crucially, what can you do about it? By the end of this video, you won't just understand yourself better. You'll have a practical guide to turning what has felt like a lifelong burden into your greatest asset for finding peace and building genuine connection. So let's start at the beginning, because that experience of intense observation is rooted in something that started long ago. Psychology tells us that the architecture of our adult minds is often built on the foundations of our childhood environment. For many deep thinkers, this foundation wasn't necessarily one of trauma or overt cruelty. Often, it was something more subtle, more atmospheric. Perhaps you grew up with parents who were not cruel, but distant. They weren't malicious, but preoccupied, consumed by their own work, their own pain, or their own relationship struggles. The environment wasn't dangerous, but it was unpredictable. Love and approval were available, but you had to learn the right code to unlock them. And so, as a child, you learned to become a master detective of the human condition. You didn't just listen to words, you analyzed tone, you cataloged facial expressions, you measured the length of a silence. You learned that your safety and emotional well-being depended on your ability to read the room before you even entered it. Is Mom in a good mood today? Is Dad stressed about work again? If I make myself small and quiet, will the tension in the house dissipate? These weren't conscious thoughts, but subconscious calculations for survival. Your mind, in its brilliant and desperate attempt to create a sense of control in an uncontrollable world, began developing a new skill. Hypervigilance evolved into deep analysis. This early life radar system never got switched off. It simply became your default mode of operating in the world. It's why you can walk into a meeting and instantly sense the unspoken politics. It's why you can detect the slight hesitation in a friend's voice that betrays their confident words. It's why you replay conversations, not out of vanity, but to search for the data you might have missed. Here's a way to picture it. Your mind became a watchtower designed to scan the horizon for any sign of emotional threat. And for years, you never learned how to leave the post. You became the permanent guard of your own psyche. This constant scanning gave you incredible intellectual and observational superpowers. You became insightful, empathetic, and an incredible problem solver. You learned to see the patterns that no one else could see. You could predict outcomes and understand motives with uncanny accuracy. But this childhood survival skill, the very thing that gave you these gifts, it came at a cost. It's a cost you're likely still paying today, in ways you might not even realize. You learned to analyze the world so you could survive it, but you were never taught how to simply live in it. Your brain was optimized for detection, not for peace. It was trained for problem solving, not for presence. This isn't a story about blame. It's not about pointing fingers at your past. It's a story about understanding. It's about recognizing that this deep thinking engine inside you was built for a reason. It was built to keep you safe. And understanding that is the first step toward learning how to gently, finally, take your hand off the alarm bell. This survival mechanism leads us directly to the central paradox of the deep thinker's existence, the double-edged sword. On one side, you have this incredibly sharp blade of intellect and insight. On the other, you have the handle, which can sometimes feel like a cage for your own heart. Here's what happens. When your mind becomes your primary tool for navigating the world, you start to believe that every problem, including emotional ones, can be solved with enough analysis. Someone you care about is acting distant. Instead of simply asking them what's wrong or allowing yourself to feel the vulnerability of uncertainty, your mind kicks into high gear. It builds elaborate flowcharts of possibilities. It was that thing you said last Tuesday. Your mind is trying to protect you from the raw, unpredictable pain of human emotion by turning it into a logical puzzle to be solved. This is the intellectual shield. Every observation sharpens your mind, but with each layer of analysis, it can inadvertently dull your ability to simply feel. Joy becomes something you dissect rather than experience. A beautiful sunset isn't just felt, it is deconstructed into its meaning about the passage of time and mortality. A spontaneous moment of connection with a partner is logged and analyzed for its long-term relationship implications. You become a spectator in your own life, a narrator of your experiences rather than the protagonist living them. Your intellect builds a brilliant, impenetrable fortress to keep you safe from emotional harm. But eventually, you realize you're a prisoner inside its walls. You're protected, but you're also profoundly alone. This is the tragic trade-off. To sharpen the mind, you inadvertently blunted the heart. You became so good at thinking your feelings that you slowly forgot how to just feel them. And this creates that bizarre internal state where you are simultaneously hyper-aware and strangely numb. You can talk for hours about the philosophy of love, but struggle to accept a simple compliment without suspicion. You can understand the psychological roots of a friend's pain, but you can't let yourself cry at a sad movie. This is why your deep thinking is both your gift and your burden. The same depth that allows you to see the universe in a drop of water can also make you feel like you're drowning in it. It's this duality that causes so much exhaustion and confusion. You feel everything, and yet you feel disconnected from everything all at once. You're surrounded by people, but your mind is an island. You see all the beauty and all the tragedy, and your soul gets tired from holding both. And it's a lonely place to be. If this sounds like you, if you feel this in your bones, please know you are not alone in this. This is the central struggle for so many brilliant, sensitive minds. But here is where we must be careful. There's a fine line between this profound, insightful thinking and something else entirely, something more destructive. And learning to see that line is the key to your freedom. We now arrive at the most critical distinction of this entire video. Because many people who identify as deep thinkers are in reality unknowingly trapped in a cycle of chronic worry and rumination. And the two feel very similar from the inside, but they lead to completely different places. Deep thinking is a process of exploration driven by curiosity. Anxiety is a process of repetition driven by fear. Let's break this down. Deep thinking asks, what can I learn from this? Anxious rumination asks, what if this goes wrong? Deep thinking looks at a past mistake and seeks the lesson, the insight, the pattern to understand. Anxious rumination replays the mistake over and over, seeking a different outcome that will never come, bathing in the shame and regret. Think about a social interaction you're replaying in your head. The deep thinker might ask, what did I learn about this person? What did their body language tell me about their values? How can I communicate more clearly next time? Did I sound stupid? Did they notice I was nervous? What did they really mean by that comment? They probably hate me now. See the difference? One is expanding, seeking wisdom. The other is contracting, seeking safety and certainty where none can be found. The simplest way to put it is that deep thinking seeks insight, while anxiety seeks certainty. One expands your world, the other shrinks it. Let's use a checklist. You might be stuck in rumination if your thoughts are repetitive, not progressive. They don't lead to new conclusions. They just circle the same drain. You might be ruminating if the process leaves you feeling exhausted, not energized. Deep thinking can be tiring, but it often ends with a feeling of clarity or aha. Rumination just leaves you drained and more fearful than when you started. You might be ruminating if your thoughts are focused on problems, whereas deep thinking is focused on solutions and understanding. And finally, you might be ruminating if you're mentally rehearsing catastrophic outcomes, imagining the worst-case scenario over and over again. It's absolutely crucial to understand that it's not a binary choice. Most deep thinkers are prone to slipping from productive analysis into destructive rumination. The high-powered engine of your mind is a beautiful thing when it's driving toward a destination of insight. But when it gets stuck in the mud of fear, it just spins its wheels, digging you deeper and deeper into the ground. Recognizing which gear you're in is the first and most powerful step to taking back control. If you're finding this distinction helpful, it's because we focus on creating content that provides not just validation, but clarity. This is the kind of practical psychology we explore here. Subscribing means you'll get more tools and frameworks to navigate your complex inner world. Now, let's talk about how the world we live in makes this even more complicated. This line between deep thought and anxiety is becoming increasingly blurred by the world we've built. We live in the age of distraction. But for a deep thinker, it's really the age of amplification. Our digital world is perfectly designed to hijack your analytical mind and weaponize it against you. Every notification is a potential problem to be analyzed. Every curated social media post is a new source of comparison and self-doubt. The 24-hour news cycle provides an infinite feed of potential catastrophes for your mind to simulate. Think about doom scrolling. For a deep thinker prone to anxiety, this isn't just casual browsing. It's a desperate attempt by your survival-oriented brain to gather all the data on all the potential threats in the world in the hopes of being prepared. But all it does is flood your system with cortisol and confirm your deepest fear, that the world is a dangerous, uncontrollable place. It's like trying to drink from a fire hose. Your mind, which craves understanding, is given an infinite amount of information with zero context and zero path to resolution. This environment can be particularly challenging, turning your gift of pattern recognition into a liability. You see the connections between global events, economic trends, and social unrest, and you feel the weight of it all. However, this is not just a story of doom and gloom. Because in a world that is becoming increasingly shallow, superficial, and distracted, a well-guided, deep-thinking mind is not just a tool, it is a superpower. The ability to focus, to think critically, to see past the noise and find the signal is more valuable now than ever before. The world doesn't need more people who can react quickly. It needs more people who can reflect deeply. It needs people who can solve complex problems, who can offer nuanced perspectives, and who can lead with empathy born from true understanding. That is your potential, but it requires conscious management of your mental environment. And this brings us to a crucial point, echoing a concern many have about the next generation. If our adult minds are being so profoundly affected, what is happening to the minds of children? When we hand a child a smartphone, we are giving them a device that can short-circuit the development of deep thought. It trains their brain for constant, shallow dopamine hits, rather than the delayed gratification of sustained focus and deep reflection. We are in danger of raising a generation that knows how to swipe, but not how to sit. How to consume, but not how to contemplate. Protecting your own focus and guiding your own mind is no longer just an act of self-care. It's a quiet act of rebellion against a world that wants to fragment your attention for profit. So how do we do that? How do we take this understanding and turn it into a practice? Okay, enough with the why. Let's get practical. Understanding the problem is only half the battle. Guiding your mind is a skill, and like any skill, it can be learned with practice. Here are 3 powerful techniques you can start using today to steer your mind from anxious rumination toward productive thought. First, cultivating what's known as the observer self. This is a mindfulness-based technique designed to create space between you and your thoughts. When you feel yourself starting to spiral, simply pause and label the thought as a thought. Instead of, "I'm a failure," you say to yourself, "I am having the thought that I am a failure." See the subtle but profound shift? You are not your thoughts. You are the one who is aware of your thoughts. This simple act of observation puts you back in the driver's seat. It takes the thought out of the realm of absolute truth and places it in the category of mental event. Thought scheduling. This sounds simple, but it is a game changer for chronic warriors. When an anxious thought or rumination loop pops up during your day, you don't fight it and you don't indulge it. Thank you for that thought, mind. I will give it my full attention at my scheduled worry time. Then you set aside 15 to 20 minutes each day, say at 5 p.m., where you are allowed to worry and ruminate as much as you want. What you'll find is that most of the thoughts you saved for later will have lost their power or seem ridiculous by the time you get there. This technique teaches your brain that you are in control of the agenda, not your fleeting anxieties. And the goal here isn't to stop thinking. It's to stop suffering. It's to find peace. Remember, you need to stop trying to silence your mind. Start giving it better problems to solve. Which brings us to our third and final technique, the compass question. When you're stuck in a loop of what if, you need to change the question. The compass question is this thought helping me move toward the kind of person I want to be, or is it just keeping me stuck? This question shifts your focus from fear-based what-ifs to value-based what matters. If you want to be a more courageous person, does ruminating on a past failure help with that? No. So what would a courageous person do right now? This turns your analytical engine away from dissecting the past and points it toward building your future. These tools are your new user manual. So let's bring it all together. We began this journey feeling like a lonely observer, trapped in a watchtower of your own mind, a fortress built for survival. We saw how that fortress, your intellectual shield, protected you, but also isolated you, creating the central paradox of being a deep thinker. We then drew the critical line between insightful thinking and anxious rumination, realizing that one seeks insight while the other desperately seeks certainty. And we've just equipped ourselves with practical tools to guide that powerful mind. But there's one final loop to close. Remember the cost we talked about? The cost of that childhood survival skill? That cost was connection. That cost was peace. The ultimate purpose of guiding your mind isn't just to feel less anxious. It's to finally use your superpower for its intended purpose, to build the deep, authentic connections you've craved your entire life. Instead of using your incredible observational skills to analyze your friends, use them to ask better questions. Instead of using your pattern recognition to predict how someone might hurt you, use it to understand what makes them feel alive. Turn your analysis outward, not as a weapon of defense, but as a bridge of empathy. Your depth is not a flaw to be fixed, but a powerful force to be guided. You were never too much. You were just taught to live in a world that wasn't deep enough. Now you have the tools to carve out your own space, to find your own peace, and to build your own world of meaningful connection. Your mind is an incredible instrument. Learning to play it beautifully is the work of a lifetime, and you've already taken the first step. I have a question for you, and I truly want to know your answer. What is one way your deep thinking has been both a blessing and a burden in your life? Share your story in the comments below. You'll be amazed at how many people share your experience. If this video provided you with clarity, please consider subscribing for more guides to the inner world. Thank you for your time and for your depth.